Story submitted by Trash Pandex. Haunted dolls? Mediums. Sensitives welcome. Under the assumption that most of you won't have a clue about this, here's the backstory. A post was made here in Our Paranormal about 2 dolls the poster originally bought at Goodwill. They were meant to be a gift for one of his cousins who collects dolls. He stated that he would hear knocking, his TV would turn off on its own, and he started having nightmares about a woman named Mary. His dog would also whine and block the closet they had been stored in. Thus, understandably, he really did not want to gift them to anyone. A lot of people wanted the dolls, and I got lucky and got both of them. Now, we don't know which one of these is haunted, but I unpacked them as of 20 minutes ago. I will be updating this post as things happen, but please feel free to give any insights. I have a feeling about one of them, but will withhold info. Also, we'll be doing research about when they were made. All I know is one is definitely handmade, and the other may be as well. Haunted Dolls Update. First things first. For all who don't know, I bought 2 dolls, one suspected to be haunted, from another member of this community. I got them, I'd say 30-ish days ago and placed them on top of my fridge. The previous owner stated that he didn't know which one was haunted, as he got them at Goodwill at the same time. The goal, as a skeptic of haunted dolls, is to see if anything happens and do some investigating. Original post. Nothing happened until today. I came home from work and was changing, and my husband called me into the kitchen to look at something. He didn't say what. I walked in and he was staring up at the dolls. That's when I noticed the Russian doll was turned to the side. He asked if I did that. I said no. He said the same thing. Now, you might be thinking, okay, they're on the fridge, so opening and closing the fridge probably jarred them. Nope. The other Wimbledon doll has not moved, not even a fraction of an inch. Both dolls were firmly on their bases. The Wimbledon doll appears to be looking slightly more to the left, but that's because the photo was taken at a slightly different angle than the original. However, the Russian doll has considerably turned. My husband set the Russian doll back to its original position, and we assumed that we'd wait and see if she moves again. Y'all, not even 10 minutes after he moved her, my fire alarm starts going off. I have lived here since January, and the alarm has never chirped, beeped, nothing. It has never made a sound whatsoever. Yet here it is instructing my family to evacuate because there is supposedly smoke in the family room. We checked everything, changed the batteries, made sure the stove was off and there was no smoke. We don't vape. We don't smoke weed or cigarettes. No one showered recently, and I wasn't cooking. I also checked the alarm for spiders because I read they can set off a false alarm. It went off again twice after we put it back up, but has been silent since. So this part is just oddly coincidental. I'm realizing as I'm writing this that since I got them, I have not been able to sleep. I can't figure out why, but I just can't sleep before 4 a.m., which is not like me at all. I also have a few really bad nightmares, like my mom getting mauled by a bear. My husband also has said I seemed irritated with him more than usual, and all of this is opposite of how we were before I got them. Story submitted by Hello Lily Z. I lived in rural Mexico most of my childhood. I lived with my mom, sister, and dog. My dad was in the USA trying to earn a living and send money to us so we can survive. I was about 6 years old when my big sister turned 15. My dad worked so hard to throw a huge party for her. Everyone in town was invited. There was a band and a huge cake. If you know anything about Mexican 15th birthday parties, you know that the birthday girl always gets a last doll. This doll is supposed to represent her growing up to a woman. My sister was so happy and excited to get her doll. The doll was made out of porcelain, had blonde hair and a peach dress with a matching straw hat. This doll was beautiful. My sister and I shared a room, and when the party was over, my sister took her doll, set it next to her, and slept with her. I remember this so much in detail because I wanted to touch it, but my sister did not let me. The next day, my sister made her bed, arranged her dolls and stuffed bears, and laid her doll right at the center. Nothing happened for a few weeks. My sister would have the same routine on how she made her bed and arranged her toys. One day, when my sister was out of the house, I decided it was time for me to touch the doll. I caressed her face, her blonde curly hair, and even fixed her hat. It was quiet. Too quiet. I remembered getting a strange feeling and I just stared into the doll's eyes. Don't know why, but I did. The feeling was a bit uneasy if I'm honest. I put her back and left the room. That night, I went to bed as usual and said goodnight to my sister. She, as usual, had put all her toys down next to her bed. When I was sleeping, I started to dream that the doll was looking at me. I could see the emptiness in her eyes. All I wanted to do was scream in my dream. I felt like I wanted to run, but I couldn't. I tried so hard to wake up, but I couldn't. When I finally did, I tried to scream at the top of my lungs, but I couldn't. I couldn't scream or even move. My body was paralyzed. I really do not know how long this lasted, but I was able to move again. And when I did, all I could see was the doll on the floor staring at me. I ran to my parents and slept there for the rest of the night. The next day, even though I was terrified to go back and see the doll, I decided to go back into my bedroom. As I go in, I see my sister arranging her toys, but not the doll. She grabbed it and turned it around and placed it somewhere else in the room. We didn't say anything, but I knew she was afraid too. For the next few months, I was afraid to stay alone in that room. The doll would be in different areas of the room, and my sister thought I had moved it. I would cry and tell her I only touched her once, but I was to blame. One time, I was in a swing, and I swear the doll was there looking at me. I got off the swing and ran back to the house to find the doll sitting down nicely in my sister's bed. We did not tell my mum anything, and as months and years passed, we learned to deal with the doll. I refused to touch her or even look at her. My family eventually moved to the U.S., and we left the doll there, abandoned. As adults, my sister and I talked about the doll, and she too had a dream about her. She said that the emptiness of her eyes freaked her out, and she would always end up in different places. At first, she thought it was me, but now looking back, she says she knew all along that something was moving this doll around. Now, when we visit that old house, and we stay in that room, we turn the doll around and do not move her from her place. That is her room and her space. Story submitted by Succexy. New doll came home. Weird noises started and things moved by themselves. My niece got a little doll as a gift last year. It was from a family member who has not so good a reputation with us. That person has tried to use local witchcraft stuff toward my family in the past. Not that I believe much about it, but it's still family, so my sister accepted it and we took the doll home. Everything was fine before that in the house. My bedroom is located next to the living room while the others are a little bit far away, crossing the living room and the hallway. I only came home for the holidays. I had been there for a week and everything was normal. I get to hear a lot of noise coming from the upper floor. We have a dog there. And from the neighbors because my room is directly above their backyard. The night we brought the doll, everything was quiet, because it was the day after New Year's. Everybody was sleeping after the celebrations, and I was on my laptop talking to some friends. Suddenly, I hear footsteps right outside my bedroom. It didn't bother me because it could have been my sister's husband. They were heavy footsteps, like boots or men's shoes. It sounded like they were crossing the hallway, then the living room and finished in the kitchen. Immediately, I heard the water on the kitchen sink running, and the sound of dishes being washed. It was odd because it was 1:15 a.m., but it could have been someone washing the baby bottles. I kept on listening. After 5 minutes, I heard my niece's playground being dragged from the hallway where it was kept to the living room. It makes a very distinctive noise, and I'm 100% sure that was what I heard. The noise kept going for a good 10 minutes or so. I wrote to my sister to find out if everything was fine but got no response. After that, I kept hearing footsteps. My dog was very nervous and barked at me when I tried to open the door to check out what was happening, so I stayed in the room. I checked the time. It was 1:43 a.m., and the sounds were still going, until they suddenly stopped. I went to sleep, trying not to think about it. The next morning, my sister calls me on the phone and tells me to get out of my room. I did. I went to the hallway and my mum, sister, and her husband were there. My sister asked me if I had put my niece's stroller in front of her bedroom door, and if I had moved the playground station. I said no and told them all about the noises. I thought they weren't going to believe me, but it turns out that my sister came out of her bedroom in the morning. She found the stroller moved. She put it in the right place and went to get the baby bottles and back to the room. After that, her husband got out to drink some water and found the stroller again in front of the door. moved it, and, on his way back, asked my sister why she had put the stroller in front of the bedroom door. They noticed there was something very weird about the situation, saw my text from last night, and decided to call me. We started to freak out a bit, and I randomly grabbed the doll that was on the stroller. I noticed a strong smell emanating from it. Dry saliva. It was nauseating. It wasn't there the night before, and nobody had touched the thing. It was still in the gift bag. My sister's husband got scared about that fact and decided to throw away the doll. That night, everything was calmed again. It was a weird experience.